For context, I'm 24, and my stepmom, Lisa, has been married to my dad for about 8 years. Lisa is only 12 years older than me, so it was always kind of weird to think of her as a mom. She was more like an older, cool aunt. My dad met her at work after my parents divorced, and while I had my doubts at first, Lisa turned out to be pretty easy to get along with. Earlier this year, I moved back home temporarily to save money after finishing college. My dad was working long hours at his new job, often late into the night, so Lisa and I were left to hang out quite a bit. We'd watch movies, cook dinner together, or just talk. It was normal, or so I thought. The night everything changed started like any other Friday. My dad was pulling another late shift, and Lisa had gone out with her friends. I stayed home, watching a movie and scrolling through my phone. Around midnight, I heard the front door open. Lisa was back, and it was clear she'd had a few drinks and drunk, but tipsy enough that her usual calm demeanor was a little looser. "Hey," she said, kicking off her heels and flopping onto the couch beside me. "What are you watching?" I told her it was some random action movie. She nodded, barely paying attention, and grabbed the remote to lower the volume. Then she started talking. "You know," she began, her voice slower than usual, "I don't know how you turned out so level-headed. Your dad could really learn something from you." I laughed nervously. Thanks. He's just busy with work right now." She shook her head. "It's not just work. He's been distant for years. I don't even think he notices me anymore." This wasn't the first time she'd mentioned feeling lonely. A few months ago, she made an offhand comment about how my dad always seemed more married to his job than to her, but I didn't think much of it at the time. Now, it seemed like she was opening up even more. "I feel invisible, you know," she said, staring at her glass of wine, "like I'm just here. No one really sees me." I didn't know what to say. It felt awkward, like I was hearing something I wasn't supposed to, but before I could change the subject, she turned to me with a strange look in her eyes. "You see me, though," she said softly, "don't you?" I frowned. See, was I imagining things, or was this conversation taking a weird turn? Yeah," I said cautiously. "Of course. Lisa, your family." She smiled, but it wasn't her usual warm smile. This one felt different. "You're sweet," she said, leaning back against the couch. "You're so much more thoughtful than your dad sometimes. It's like you actually care." At this point, alarm bells were going off in my head. I laughed awkwardly, trying to play it off. "Well, I mean, you're pretty easy to get along with." She didn't say anything for a moment, just looked at me with this unreadable expression. Then she sighed and said, "You know, sometimes I wonder if I made a mistake." "A mistake?" I repeated, not sure I wanted to know where this was going. "Marrying your dad," she said bluntly. "Don't get me wrong, I love him, but I don't know. I feel like I settled, and now I'm stuck." I didn't know what to say. This was way too personal, and I felt completely out of my depth. I mumbled something about how every marriage has its ups and downs, but she wasn't done. "You're really something, you know that?" she said, her voice quieter now. "Mature, kind, funny. If things were different." She trailed off, and I felt my heart racing. If things were different, what? Was she implying what I thought she was? "Lisa," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, "you've had a long night. Maybe you should get some rest." She looked at me for a moment, her expression unreadable, then nodded. "Yeah," she said softly, "you're probably right." She got up and went to her room without another word. I sat there for a long time, trying to process what had just happened. The next morning, everything seemed normal. Lisa acted like nothing had happened, smiling and joking as we made breakfast, but I couldn't shake the memory of what she'd said or how she'd looked at me. I haven't told my dad, and I don't plan to. I don't want to blow up their marriage over something that might have been a one-time thing, but I also don't know how to handle this. Every time Lisa and I are alone now, I feel on edge, like I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. So here I am, asking the internet, what do I do? Has anyone else been in a situation like this? I feel like I'm caught in the middle of something I never signed up for. The morning after Lisa's confession felt surreal. I woke up earlier than usual, still replaying the conversation from the night before. For a brief moment, I thought maybe I had imagined it, but the awkward tension when I saw her in the kitchen confirmed it had been real. Lisa was already making coffee, humming a tune like it was any other Saturday. She looked up and smiled when she saw me. "Morning, coffee?" Sure," I said, trying to act normal. As she handed me a mug, her fingers brushed mine. It wasn't a big deal, but I flinched slightly, still on edge. If she noticed, she didn't show it. We sat at the table, drinking our coffee in silence. I kept my eyes on my phone, scrolling through social media to avoid making eye contact, but she broke the silence. "About last night," she said, her tone casual. My stomach dropped. Here it was. "I might have said some things I shouldn't have," she continued, stirring her coffee. "I'd had a few too many glasses of wine, and I guess I got a little too honest. I nodded, not sure how to respond. It's okay. Everyone says weird stuff when they've been drinking. She smiled faintly. Thanks for understanding. I've been feeling really overwhelmed lately, and it all kind of spilled out. Yeah, no worries, I said quickly, eager to move on. We all have bad days. She nodded, but I could tell there was more she wanted to say. Instead, she changed the subject, asking about my plans for the day. I gave vague answers and retreated to my room as soon as I could. The week after, for the next week, I tried to avoid being alone with Lisa. If my dad was home, I made sure to stick around him. If he wasn't, I'd find an excuse to leave the house. Lisa, for her part, acted like nothing was wrong. She was friendly, chatty, and completely normal around my dad, which only made things more confusing. Had I blown things out of proportion, or was she just really good at pretending? But then, a few days later, something happened that made me question everything again. The second confession. It was late again, another night where my dad was working late. I was in my room, headphones on, trying to drown out my thoughts with music. I didn't hear a knock, so I was startled when she opened the door and poked her head in. Hey, she said softly. Got a minute? I hesitated but nodded. What's up? She stepped inside and closed the door behind her. My heart started racing. I know I said I was sorry about the other night, she began, but I can't stop thinking about it, about what I said, about us. Lisa, I said, my voice firm. There is no us. You're married to my dad. I never thought I'd be writing something like this. It feels like a scene ripped straight out of a drama series, but it's my real life. At least, I think it is. I still don't know how to fully process what happened that night.